Huh? Huh? Welcome to the What's My House Worth year-end spectacular. Happy New Year, Ryan.
Happy New Year.
Oh, it's a special show, and I'm so glad that you tuned in to watch. A lot of interesting information. We're going to rehash 2012, come up with some new things, and maybe even give out some awards, Ryan.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting, so everybody buckle up.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun ride. First, the introductions. My name, if you're a regular watcher, you should know, is Rob Ticktin. I own Encompass Residential, providing real estate brokerage for longtime homeowners. I also own Daytick Development. We build homes right here in Needham.
And I am Ryan McDonnell. I am an owner at Hawthorne Real Estate. We build homes in Needham as well, and we are brokers here in town too.
Well, we've put together hopefully a show that you'll enjoy. Like I said, we're going to have a few surprises along the way, but it's going to be a good time, and hopefully it'll be a good 2013 for all our viewers. We're going to start the show like we start all our shows, which is the data over the course of the previous, well, usually it's month, this time it's year. We're going to show you what 2012 looks like and how it shaped up. And Ryan, you know, when putting this together, I think we probably could have guessed really close to a lot of these numbers, considering we've been doing this show for just about a year now.
Yeah, I mean, the homes sold, we had 335 single-family homes selling in Needham this year.
Yeah, that's an average of about 28 per month.
Yep, and it's up from 2011, had 281, so it's a good spike for 2012. I think maybe the infamous month of June might have had something to do with that.
That was a big one.
Yeah, and the average list price of $833, and we have an average sales price of $807, which is interesting because we always talk about the eights being kind of the funny price range, and here we are with the average sale price being in the eights, and homes are typically selling at 97% of their list price, which is the number that we see basically month to month, so it holds true. The one number that we both thought maybe was a little strange was the average sales price per square foot at $311, because typically we're seeing it closer to $3.
Closer to $3, right? It's climbed, and maybe December had a lot to do with that.
Maybe.
Because it was such a high number. But overall, what we see is a 19% jump in sales from 2011 to 2012. So that's a healthy jump, and hopefully 2013 we'll see a similar jump up in sales of homes and condos and multifamily.
Wait, we're going to talk about condos and multis?
I know, and I was trying to slip that one past you. So we typically don't talk about multifamilies and condos, but since this is a special show, a special time of the year, we put together another slide that breaks down what exactly has sold in each of those three categories over the course of 2012. And there's a reason why we call this What's My House Worth,
right? Because
not a really big condo or multifamily market here in Needham.
Right. So we're not just single-family snobs. It's just that there's more to talk about.
That's true. Or, it's possible though, if you're watching at home, that somebody could maybe start up a show called "What's My Condo Worth?"
Right. You could do it a lot more quickly.
It could be a short show.
Right.
Because there's 53 that sold over the course of the year, which is quick math, about 5 per month. Maybe sprinkle in a little bit of multifamily in there. Which is about,
look out, 7 multis.
0.8 multifamily sold per month. But that's the breakdown for you. And so now we're going to do the trailing data like we do usually on a monthly basis, but this time we're going to do it over the course of the past 5 years, just so you can get a feel for what's been going on. And this is some really interesting data, don't you think, Ryan?
I do, and I think what it speaks to is how stable Needham has been. I mean, you're talking about 2008, where you had 314 units sold you can see obviously the big climb into 2012 with the 395, those are including the multis and the condos. Well, I think 2012, we can attribute a lot of it to interest rates. So, interest rates have been so low this year. So it's been a really, the reason for the spike. 2008 was when we were in sort of that economic downturn.
Right, everybody kind of batted down the hatches at that point.
Yeah, but Needham has shown steady growth, steady stability, and those are really what you're looking for in a real estate market.
I think the thing that surprises me the most as I look at that bar graph, for me personally, is just how few multifamilies actually sell in Needham. There were 7 that sold this previous year. That matched the high of 2 other years, but over the course of a 5-year span, I would have never guessed that less than 30 multifamilies sold in Needham. I know it's not a multifamily town, but that's a small number.
Right. This is definitely a single-family dominated town for sure.
It is, and the data proves that. We do the trailing sales data usually over the course of the previous 4 or 5 months, but since this is,
again,
the year-end spectacular,
it is.
You're going to see something that you haven't seen and you probably won't see again until 2014. That's the trailing data over the course of the last 12 months. And look out!
God, June. I can't say enough about June.
We kind of sensed that it was a special month while we were in the midst of it.
Yep.
And seeing that just really hammers it home, doesn't it?
Yeah, and again, we talked about it on our December show, which I'm sure all of you watched, is how the sales sort of trail the busy and slow times of the year. Like you have that huge spike in June, that trails the busy buying months of April and May. You have the nice little spike at the end of the year, which trails the busy fall market of September and October. So it's interesting to look at it in graph format.
Yeah, and the kind of person who looks ahead a little bit, the thing that makes me nervous about looking at that is the January number of 7, because we've got a February show to start thinking about that we go over the January data.
Right. The February show is going to be about 6 minutes long.
Yeah, if that. And there's going to be a lot of filler in it too, because if it looks anything like this past year, then you're talking about basically 7 sales in January.
Right. We might do multiple wardrobe changes in that show.
Yeah, we might have to come up with some special elements to that show as well. So that kind of gives you a look at what's been going on in Needham for 2012. Before we show you this next slide, we just want to kind of talk about it a little bit before it comes up on the air. It's something that we have not done yet. It goes a little bit it breaks it down into a way that we haven't done it yet.
No, but it's a way that is very relevant to a lot of buyers and sellers in Needham. And this is a segmentation of the market that we deal with really, really frequently when we're working with clients. And it's very important to a lot of people. And we hadn't, as Rob said, looked at it from a macro level yet, and we're very excited to show it to you.
We are, and one of the questions I think all brokers in town will agree when they're showing, especially a family or somebody coming into town, is when they're looking at a house in a certain school district, well, can you tell us about that school a little bit? And it's a touchy subject because as brokers, you really don't want to get into talking about schools per se, because a lot of the information that you might be conveying is very subjective. So what we've done is we've taken a more quantified look at the schools based on 2012 sales, and now you can see as the slide comes up what that data shows you as far as what the houses look like in each of the school districts. So let's it's a lot of information to digest.
Everyone digest for a second.
Well, no, before you digest, just slow down. Don't get too overwhelmed. We're gonna kind of go.
I'm just so excited.
I know.
I just can hardly control myself.
I know. We're gonna go column by column. So on the left, of course, you see the 5 elementary schools in Needham. Then you see the number of homes that have sold in each of those school districts. No surprise here that Newman is on top as far as the most homes sold because it covers the biggest area and it's the biggest elementary school.
Right, with Broadmeadow falling, on its close behind, not really close behind, but Broadmeadow being the next largest, and so on. The numbers highlighted in red are just the biggest of each column, or in some cases the smallest when we're talking days on market. But so yeah, no surprise again, Newman had the most sales from a volume perspective due to mostly its size.
Sales price is the next column we see, and you can see there that Broadmeadow takes it as far as the most expensive homes, average-wise over the course of that school district. And then kind of in a descending order, you go from Broadmeadow to Hillside.
Yeah, that was one that surprised both of us, I think. The second highest average sales price in Needham is in Hillside.
Right, and square footage might have a little bit to do with that. We'll get into that in a minute. And then you have Newman, followed by Mitchell, followed by Elliott. And of course, this is over the 335 homes that sold in 2012. Dollars per square foot. Ryan, why don't you take that?
Well, Mitchell just far and away exceeds the rest of them for average price per square foot. So you're getting maybe a smaller house in Mitchell, but you're paying more for that square footage. And then I think I think Hillside, shocked both of us there being second.
Agreed. And when you talk about dollars per square foot, usually the smaller the home, the higher dollars per square foot. So if you jump ahead a little bit, you can see that the average size of the home that's sold in Mitchell is very close to the average size of the home that's sold in Elliott. But yet the dollars per square foot, you're talking about almost $50 per square foot difference. But from descending order, you've got Mitchell, like you said, followed by Hillside, then Broadmeadow, then Newman, then Elliott. And then square footage, I touched on that a little bit, biggest ones in Broadmeadow.
Right, and then I think maybe a telling factor is the days on market. So when you're going, and you're as a seller, when you're going to put your house on the market, you can expect, if you're living in Mitchell, to sell it more quickly than if you're living in Elliott or or even in this case, Newman. So I think that statistic alone is significant. So when you're looking at it from a demand perspective, you know, we hear about a lot of times what school district people are more interested in looking at than others, and the data sort of proves it true.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the best thing and the most well-rounded piece of information you could pass along to a potential buyer is this is what the data says,
Right.
interpret it however you want, but the numbers don't lie, and if you want to get more bang for your buck, as far as the bigger house without spending quite as much, you'll see that the data tells you could probably do that in a school district like an Elliott, and the dollars per square foot kind of goes up. And you know, this is all general information, but it is the quantified, actual calculated data.
Right, and your point leading into all this is a great one. As brokers, when you know you're asked, well, what school district do I want to be in? It's like, well, geez, you know, I could tell you my opinion, but we have to be very careful as agents to often leave our opinions out of it. But this is a great tool where you can say, you know, I always tell clients, you know, fall in love with the house in the neighborhood. The school districts in Needham, you're splitting hairs as far as the education of your kids is concerned.
They're all going to end up in the same place anyway.
Right. So the problem is Pollard's does that. No, I'm just kidding. But what you want to do is fall in love with your neighborhood and your home. And if that neighborhood and home happens to be in Elliott, you can take comfort in knowing that you're probably going to pay a little bit less per square foot, or maybe a little less overall, and get the same house. So there's value to be had.
Right. All right. Anything else you want to touch on with the schools before we get on to the fun and exciting part of the show?
No, but it'll be interesting to see how the potential renovations at Mitchell play into the future sales there.
Right. Hillside as well. Mm-hmm. And so that does it for the school data. A lot of interesting information in there.
Yeah, agreed.
And hopefully we can recapture it for you next year as well.
It'll be different numbers though.
Yes, although maybe not much different. If December is like December of
Be
last
easier
year.
for prep.
Okay, so that does it for that section of the show. Coming up after this short break is the awards ceremony. A lot of chatter about that on the message boards.
Yep.
People wanting to know who's going to be winning the awards for 2012. We'll have that answer for you in just a bit.
Stay tuned.
People are saying the sky is falling in the real estate market. That hasn't happened in Needham. Needham has been fairly stable.
Right.
I think it's going to continue to be fairly stable because there are a lot of factors that Needham has that are keeping that in place. The school system, the fact that there's 4 train stations in what's a relatively small suburban town, draws a lot of people to Needham and keeps the values in place.
Right. If I own a home and I'm just thinking about selling the house, and I've owned it for 30 years and I know that I've refinanced 4 or 5 times, is it worthwhile before I even start the process of selling my house to contact an attorney just to make sure there are no title issues?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the things that you want to do to get your home ready for sale. Most folks actually don't do that. That's taken for granted that, you know, you talk to a listing agent, a lot of people know about staging your property, preparing it for sale from an aesthetic perspective, but the title perspective, the legal aspect of it, most average homeowners don't think about that until they're into the process with an actual buyer.
So what is a home inspector's responsibility as far as, you know, you're doing a home inspection, are you also doing a code compliance inspection?
That's a really good question because that does come up a lot, and it's complicated. The answer to it is a little bit complicated because basically we're evaluating the condition of the home, and as you're well aware, building codes have evolved and changed over the years to improve the quality of buildings and improve the safety primarily. So a homeowner is not required to make their current home conform to today's building codes if it was built under a different standard.
But moving forward, we're starting to look into how we can make the process better as far as the building department is concerned, and if we can make any changes to the zoning in Needham, slight changes. We don't have all the answers, but maybe to help with some of these tear down issues that neighbors have. You know, it's a balancing act between the value of a home, the neighborhoods, and the builder. And me being a builder and all of us, you know, we want to protect all of the interests. So that's where we're going with it. It's the first crack at it. We're going to work with the planning board and see if there are any things that can be done to kind of make sure the process is good and that, you know, we have a good package that we're giving to the citizens of Needham.
The newly appointed, newly hired building inspector, Dave Roach, in an article in Needham Times mentioned the possibility of maybe a committee or a panel of local builders How do Rob and I get on that channel? Is it-
Apply. All you have to do is apply.
In 20 seconds or less, give me
Yes.
your wackiest and weirdest story as an insurance agent.
The weirdest one probably is the oil claim, where the furnace guy went in, cleaned the furnace, also put in a cleaner inside the tank, took the cap off, forgot to put the cap back on. That day, the delivery guy, of course, came, delivered oil, wasn't paying attention, and the oil then basically within about a few hours, unfortunately just wasn't paying attention, filled the basement, just a nice skim of oil. Then they had the EPA involved.
You should pass that story along to NSTAR. I'm sure they'd love that.
I'm sure they
Sounds
love
like a
it.
sticky situation.
Good one. That's a quap. Let's go off on a low note.
Yeah.
So it's time for the awards section of the show. Over the course of the year, we've looked at just about 300 plus homes, and of those homes, we've decided to hand out some awards.
Yeah.
It's a very exciting time, and the
Very
first
festive.
it's very festive. The first award we're going to hand out is to the biggest seller. It's the house in Needham that sold for the most amount of money in all of 2012 per MLS. Ryan, would you like to unveil the winner of this?
These just handed to us by the good people at PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Very curious to see what this one's going to be.
The winner of the big seller of the year is 580 South Street.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not see that one coming.
580 South Street sold for $2.6 million.
Well,
in March.
congratulations. That's great,
Yeah.
580 South Street.
Right.
Some thoughts on that listing. We did touch on that one in March.
Yep.
Anything
In a
jump-
review of the month of March, sure.
Correct. Anything jump out at you about that listing? Either that's a big trophy too.
Right, right. Well done, South Street. I think one of this new construction. We talked about it at the time. Very, very, very tastefully done. A lot of woodwork, some nice interior finishings, and a big custom, state-of-the-art theater in the basement, which is cool.
Yeah, and there was finished space both in the basement and on the third level.
Yeah.
So 4 levels of finished space. You had 7 heating zones,
Right.
7 AC zones.
And they took the title.
They did it right,
Yeah.
and they got what they wanted,
got paid.
which was forget getting paid. They got
Oh,
the
right.
award for the big seller on What's My House
I
Worth.
can't wait to drop the trophy off.
Next, maybe we can watch a movie while we're there.
Right.
The next award is the not so big seller of the year. It's the house that sold for the least amount in Needham in 2012. Do you want to open that one too, Ryan?
All right, here
you
we
did such
go.
a great job. I mean,
And the winner of the not so big sale of the year,
no idea.
it's 391 Dedham Ave. Drum roll, congratulations.
That's
Sold
great.
for $315 on June 13th.
You get a trophy, not quite as big as the big seller trophy, but it's a
smaller.
trophy, and it's more trophies than 330.
And it's not a participation trophy.
And it's a great number for a good sized lot, 14,000 square feet. My theory is one of the reasons it went for 315 is you did have some wetlands in the area, so it made it a little tricky with what you could do in terms of a new construction or a renovation. It
Yep.
was on the house for 84 days on market. Everybody had a chance to look at this thing they didn't know it was going to be award winner at the time.
True.
Had they known, you probably would have had a lot more traffic.
Yeah.
But it's the not so big seller of the year.
And I think that the point you touched on of it being on the market for 84 days, if we could interject a little bit of an editorial into this, since it is the year-end spectacular.
Yeah.
Uh,
Listen,
y-
you do whatever you want, Ryan.
Right, there's no rules to this show.
No.
One of the things that we hear about sometimes in Needham is how the prices are going up and it's pricing out the lower end of the market. I mean, this house sold for $315. It was on the market for 84 days. It was ultimately bought by a developer. That's true, but anybody could have come in here and bought this house. It's just there is still opportunity at the low end of the market in Needham, and there is ample chances to come in under 500,000, as we've seen all year.
Yeah, there were a lot of contenders for this award.
Right.
So
right.
this wasn't just the only really not
Right.
so big selling house of the year.
Exactly.
Next up on the list is something I know a lot of people have been looking forward to, the most days on market. And I got to tell you, I just have no idea what this one might be, because there were a lot of houses that were on the market for a long period of time. I'm going to give you the honors
Let's
right there.
find out. So the house that spent the longest time on the market, it's
57 Frank Street.
Good job, Frank
Congratulations.
Street.
So thoughts on that one, Ryan?
I had the opportunity to see Frank Street at the 640-day mark, and I guess to put it mildly, I'm not surprised that 57 Frank Street took this one down. It's an enormous house, and it was priced. It started out, in the high 1.5s, almost 1.6. Ultimately sold for under $1 million. So I mean, that speaks volumes right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure when this house got listed back in 2010, they had no idea they'd be winning the award in 2000.
No, it's probably arguably our most dubious award, I would say.
That's true, but an award nonetheless.
Right, true.
I mean, a dubious award is better than no award.
Right, but we talk about it every month when we do the show. We in some form or another stress the importance of, as a seller and as a listing agent, knowing your product and having an understanding, or at least hoping to understand how the market's going to view it, and using that information to set your price. And yikes.
Pricing is key.
Yeah.
We also, every month, talk about what we feel like is our best deal of the month. So for the next set of awards, we've decided to do our individual deal of the year. So we'll start with your deal of the year. Then the next award goes to Ryan's deal of the year. And
I'm nervous because I don't know what it is.
Pins and needles.
Oh, right, sure. 131 Oxbow Road.
Yeah, you like that one.
I did.
That was a great
and
selection.
still do. This one sold for $1.5 million. And when you hear about $1.5 million, you're thinking, oh, geez, how is that really a great deal? But when you see this house, it's 4,400 square feet. It's on a 4-acre lot, and it's right on the Charles River. It's got frontage on the river. It has a beautiful
It's so big
pool.
you needed a helicopter to take a picture of it.
Right, the aerial photo just sealed it for me, but when I saw it, when you're walking through the house and you walk through multiple rooms where you're looking out over this beautiful backyard, this beautiful pool, you see the river. The house is, it could use some updates, some cosmetic updates throughout in some places. Beautiful master bath. It has so much potential for 1.5.
Yeah.
I mean, you a lot of times buy new construction for 1.5 where you're done and you don't have that whole outside experience. This has some room to maybe make some improvements to it, to put your mark on it. I loved it.
The possibilities are endless, I think some would say.
Endless.
So that's your deal of the year. I guess next up is my deal of the year.
I'm nervous too.
I know.
What could it be?
I know. There's so many possibilities.
Why don't you do the honors there?
Thanks, Ryan. I thought you'd never ask. The award for Rob's deal of the year is 11 Newell. 11 Newell. It's so great I can't even say it. I loved it. Not only when we talked about it on the show, I loved 11 Newell when I looked at it. I just thought it looked like a really, really good value when it was listed for $919. You're talking about 3,500 square feet. Originally built in '98, so it's what Ryan likes to call a
young house.
A young house, or a newer home.
Newer construction.
Included in that 3,500 square feet was 500 square feet in the basement. I like the location. I think it's a good location. Underrated. You're in town. Newman School District, I believe. Is that correct?
No, that's Hillside, no?
It doesn't matter. I think it's. I love it.
Because like we said, you're splitting hairs.
Right,
Who
right.
cares? Send the kids whatever school you want.
Listen, you go to 11 Newell. I don't know where you're going to elementary school, but you're ended up at Pollard. I just liked it. It was the negotiable, the washer, dryer, fridge. I thought was outstanding. I liked that listing, and I thought whoever bought that got a really good buy at $920. A little bit over asking, but just $1,000. How do you feel about our award so far?
I mean, it's just been so informative.
I agree. You ready to tap into I know you've been looking forward to the next one.
Yeah.
The next award is, go ahead. Sorry.
We thought we'd highlight the oldest home sold in Needham. We talk a lot about new construction, a lot about things that have been renovated. How about the other end of the spectrum? What is the oldest home that sold in Needham in 2012?
And before we announce it at home, why don't you take a guess on what the oldest home in Needham sold for 2012?
Wait.
All right, go ahead. Open it up. Take the honor.
The oldest home sold in 2012 was at 1479 Great Plain Avenue.
I remember that was one that was on the market, if I'm not mistaken, for 678 days.
Well, why don't you relieve the suspense? What year was it built?
1834. Ooh, that's an old one.
That is old.
That is old. Don't you talk a little bit about that one?
You mentioned it was on the market for a little bit of time. It's 2,000 square feet. It's obviously been renovated since 1834. It has indoor plumbing, has electricity. It has water sewer. It's on a big lot, 1.1 acres. It's sort of just past Central as you're heading towards Wellesley on Great Plain Ave.
That's correct. And it was bought by somebody who I don't think intended to subdivide it, although there was
Right.
an
Right.
opportunity.
There was a bit of a question as to whether it was subdividable.
Because it was such a big lot.
Right.
But it was purchased by somebody who's doing some extensive renovations on there.
Right.
And turning it into a really nice house. And I'm sure it's been around for 200 years and will be around for many, many more years to come.
It's a classic blend of the old with the new. A lot of people find that very charming.
Yes, because it's unique. People like unique.
They do.
So 2013 is coming around the corner.
It is.
It's here, some might say.
Right.
What are your thoughts on what the real estate market in Needham is going to look like? Just, I don't want you to make any predictions. I don't want to put you on the spot.
All right. Well,
You talked about interest rates a little bit. They're still low.
They are.
So that has to be a good start, right?
Yeah. I mean, it starts with the economy. It starts with interest rates. I mean, we've avoided the fiscal cliff, so to speak, to some degree, and with the rates where they are, and I think a lot will be said for how this spring. When does the spring market start? If we have a winter like we had last year, it's reasonable to expect that the spring market's going to begin early like it did last year when people were out and about in February. Typically, we see it start to heat up when we get into March, but the spring market will be a huge indicator of the year to come. And all signs have been positive.
All signs, I agree, have been positive, and I think you would agree that anecdotally, just right out of the gate for 2013, there seems to be people out there who are looking, who are active buyers, who are making offers on properties.
Right. I mean, we've gotten some offers this week on some new construction, which we're very happy about.
Well, it's almost like people talk about the winter months as kind of the doldrums of the real estate market, but you could argue that, once you just get through the holiday season of the Thanksgiving and then the holidays right through the new year, then
You want to get
people
back
start
at
to
it.
come out of the woodwork. And some
Yeah.
people don't want to wait until spring. They figure that's the time to get out. There was a real lull with what was going on in the market in Needham for about the past 3 weeks. Really nothing was coming on, but now over the last couple of days you've seen
Yep.
things start.
Yeah, we haven't had a caravan in Needham in a month.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I think we probably will have one next week. But it's been a pleasure doing the show. Before we sign off, let's talk a little bit about how people can contact us if they want to contribute to the show. Maybe make it a little bit better, if possible, for
Yeah,
2013.
how are you going to do that?
Well, I can tell you how. You're going to call us, and the number is
781-707-6564.
And we welcome calls of any nature, whether it's to comment on the show or give us suggestions, or if you want to even have your house looked at by us, maybe featured on a show, huh? Maybe go out on location 2013. The sky's the limit for what's
Not
my
terrible.
house worth.
Not terrible.
You can also reach us by email, and our email address is rob.ryan.needham@gmail.com. Again, that's rob.ryan.needham@gmail.com.
Yep.
And there was some other things you want to talk
we'd
about?
also like to thank Bick over at Reed and White for the nice formal wear that you're seeing here today on the show.
Yeah, if you want to dress up in a tuxedo and pretend you're doing a show at home, you can go over to Reed and White, and they will take really good care of you. I just want to say it's been a pleasure doing the show with you, Ryan. Thanks for.
Hey, let's keep it up.
Yep, here's to a great 2013. And again, I mentioned it in the December show. Just wanted to touch on it here real quick. If you are considering applying for an abatement with the town of Needham, which there's no downside to it. You want to do that by February 1st. If you think your house is worth less than what the town thinks it's worth, you can build your case, present it to the town of Needham, and maybe get your taxes lowered a little bit.
Chip Davis, if you're listening, we're very sorry, but
Sorry.
your office is about to get flooded.
Yeah, lots of phone calls. And you can also call us or email us about that as well. But that, I think, puts the finishing touches on the year-end spectacular.
Can't wait till next year.
Can't wait till next year. My name is Rob Ticktin. That is Ryan McDonnell. We will see you later this year, because we're already in 2013.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Goodbye.